this is something that has been in the works for a long, long time, as Okezi will tell you, and the group. But it's such an amazing thing to see it actually taking shape. I will not take much time. My name is David Zhao. I am the Director of International Student Programs and Services, and I am joined today by Roseborn, who is on the iPhone, on the, well, I'm gonna say on my right-hand corner, but it's probably a different space on your screen. Roseborn is our DSO and coordinator at the International Student Programs and Services Office, as well as we have Carrie also on the call, who is the Director of Careers, Internships, and Community Engagement. Our two offices, the International Student Office as well as the Career Office, have had a really robust partnership over the past year to really create a robust and intentional and deliberate career development program for international students. To have the support of those who have been international students at Principia College, who are now in a position to look back and give back by way of mentorship and guidance and so on, it is something that I keep saying gives us buoyancy. It gets us, it feeds the work that we do. So we really appreciate you guys taking the time from, you know, really, really busy schedules, and also being able to make time from such a vast variety of time zones. We don't take it for granted. Carrie, do you want to introduce yourself?
I just want to say hello to everyone and thank you. I've met most of you, students, and then also our special alumni group. We're just so grateful and we're excited about this partnership and kicking off with this special event tonight.
Thank you. I'm gonna hand it over to Okezi to facilitate the program for today. Okezi, take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And actually also good morning, everyone. Believe it or not, some of our team members are joining this call are in the early hours of Wednesday morning. So we definitely want to extend a special appreciation to those that are joining us, you know, probably staying up late or even waking up early to join this call. Thank you. And of course, thank you, David and Carrie, for working with us in providing the platform to bring our ideas to fruition. This is really, in a nutshell, an opportunity for us alumni to give back to an institution that has given so much to us, especially during our formative years at Principia. The Principia Alum Strategic Learning and Mentoring, we also know it as SARM, kind of an easier acronym to help us remember, has been a labor of love, many years in the making. Tonight, we, the Psalmist, again, another acronym to help us remember ourselves, we call ourselves the Psalmist. We'll get to introduce ourselves, most of us briefly, but we have reserved 3 key in-depth introduction from 3 members of our team. They would give us a more in-depth introduction. They will tell us, you know, where they are, their journey after print thus far. And then I will share with us our goals and objective in starting SARM. And we would devote the final session to question and answer. And so that's the approach we will be taking. Also at this time, for the students on this call, if you could please take a minute, maybe go to the chat session of this Zoom and tell us, introduce yourself. You could quickly write your first and last name, your country of origin, if you're an international student. And if you're a domestic student, you could also tell us the state and city where you're coming from. This will give us a chance to get to know you. Unfortunately, we may not be able to do this in this session, but please, by writing it down in the chat area, this will give us a chance to get to know you. So we do look at the chats. So we'll go ahead and proceed with the introduction. I'll start myself. My name, like David mentioned, my name is Okezi Heroes Nanta. I live in Brentwood, California, Northern California. I graduated from Principia in 1997 with a BA in Business Administration and Economics. Areas of my expertise include post-secondary education, healthcare revenue, cycle management, philanthropy. Through my foundation, we specialize in granting of educational scholarship to the less privileged in my actually home village in Nigeria. So those are the areas I have expertise in. And at this juncture, I would go ahead and call on fellow SARMs to also briefly introduce themselves. And I'll try to do this in alphabetical order. Let me see, I'm gonna see the list of participants and see if we have, do we have Mr. Akatrai on the line? Let's see. I do not see Mr. Akatrai on the line. So the next in alphabetical order would be Mr. Akubeze. Mr. Akubeze, if you're here, please briefly, tell us your full name, where you're calling in from, and what you're currently doing.
Yeah, my name is Macaulay Uke Akubeze. I am currently in Mountain House, California. Originally from Nigeria, I graduated from PRE June 1995. At this point, I'm in the technology field, basically a technical account manager for a cloud infrastructure company, making hardware and software basically for enterprise mission critical systems. Yeah, I am. Through the years, I've mostly in IT in various roles. And at this point, going through the journey, I'm looking back and seeing, a bunch of things where if someone could have guided me, I would have been there sooner. So, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Akubeze. And do we have Mrs. Difa Osim on the line? Okay, if Ms. Difa is not with us, do we have Mr. Daniels? Mr. Echo Daniels, are you with us? Okay, he may be joining us later on. I'll go ahead and call on Mrs. Annie Idowu. See if she's with us. Okay, I do not see Mrs. Idowu on the line. I would call on Mrs. Wambui Kenya. See her on the line.
Good morning, I am here. Good morning from Nairobi. My name is Wambui Kenya. I may at some point go off video if I start to get sleepy again. But good morning from Nairobi, if I can speak English. Wambui Kenya from Nairobi, Kenya. I was at PRIN and graduated in 1998. I had an economics major and was one shy from having a computer science major. I'm a technologist. I don't know how else to describe myself. It was a was developing code and stopped doing that many years ago, and now lead an innovation as a services company in Africa, though it's US founded about 18 years ago. And I believe that's sort of the space in which I exist. But I'm also board member in several organizations, including Mozilla Foundation, the owners of Firefox. Pleasure to be here and really looking forward to having really awesome engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kenya. Mr. Vincent Mugabo, are you with us? It appears Mr. Mugabo may be running a little bit late. Mr. Sel Nudo, are you with us?
He's not here.
It's not here, okay. Professor Chris Oriadan Aja, are you with us?
Yes. I'm actually feeling a little bit homesick after seeing some familiar faces and names here on the platform. Chris Oriadan Aja, well known as Professor Chris, currently in North Carolina after I left Prin. Still doing what I do best, try to educate engineers. Right now, I'm in a community college where I'm actually focusing more on the underprivileged. I'm not supposed to be using that term very loosely, but that's what I'm still doing to kind of help students, create some opportunities for students to pursue engineering. So again, I'm be here to see all the faces. I'm gonna have you all turn on your camera so I can see or change or not change in a little bit here, but it's great.
Thank you, Professor Chris. And if you notice, there are three members of the team that I did not introduce yet. We are saving the best for last. So I will be introducing them for an in-depth intro later on. But I would like to real quickly tell you about SARM. But before I do, I'm a storyteller. For those who know me, I love telling stories. But I'm going to share this little story, and then I will segue to our mission. This story is about an infantryman who, after passing the last obstacle course as part of his training before deployment, he did so well and was asked by his training officer how he was able to navigate the obstacle course. By the way, the obstacle course was a minefield. He navigated it so effortlessly to the amazement of his training officer. So when he was asked how he was able to do it so quickly and effortlessly, he smiled and answered, before starting my journey through the minefield, I made some observations. I noticed several footprints or footsteps along the minefield. Some were 6 yards deep and disappeared. Others were halfway through the minefield and disappeared. Others were 3/4 through the minefield and disappeared. But I did notice a unique set of footprints that actually started from the beginning of the course and went all the way through. It dawned on me, in order to be successful, I will need to follow this set of unique footprints. And that's what he did. That made it possible for him to navigate through the minefield without losing a limb or even his life. This was to the amazement of his training officers, who commended him for his excellent use of wisdom. Now, the moral of the story is not so much about following footsteps, but rather, irrespective of the path we choose in life, a healthy combination of self-forage and following in the footsteps of those who have come before us is definitely needed. So it's against this backdrop that the SAM program was developed. You've heard me use the term SAM. What does how did SAM come about? The Principia Alum Strategic Learning and Mentoring Program was designed by us, Principia alumni. Over the years, since our graduation, many of us keep in touch, We keep in touch physically, we call each other on the phone, we even, believe it or not, we use social media platforms to keep in touch. And as we reminisce on our time at Principia, an area that kept coming up for improvement was in career development. We're thinking of what are some of the better ways to create awareness and opportunities after graduation, for those that are currently going through the college, especially new arrivals to Principia, and of course, including those that have been at Principia for some time. And as we talked about this amongst ourselves, we felt that it would make sense for us to come up with the ideas we share with you tonight. So today we are witnessing the birth of this program. Our team, as you've noticed earlier, is made up of alumni from various states here in the United States, and of course, also from Africa, East and West Africa. And I would also like to add, in terms of our goal, to again clearly stated, our goal is to provide academic and career preparation mentoring program through seminars, could also be webinars, presentation, and also individual mentoring sessions. We have been made aware of the use of InterStride, a platform currently in use at the college, as a potential conduit for a more customized mentoring experience should the need arise. Some of the topics we'll be talking about in our seminars/webinars would be things like identifying career interests and strength, identifying dysfunctional career beliefs, declutter your mind, identify, let go of unhelpful thoughts, subconscious versus conscious mind, being a doer, confidence building, consistent action, how to set up your environment for success, simple steps for a supportive environment, time management for success. How are you using your time? Where is change needed? People you spend time with, importance of who you spend time with, and attitude for success, why attitude is everything more than your skills and talent. And of course, we are also very, very open to students' suggested topics for inclusion in future webinar seminars. At this point, I would go ahead and call on our first in-depth introducer by the name, let me see if she's here with us, Mrs. Anakor Ando. She would tell us about her journey post-Principia and what advice she would give to her 20+ year self ago at Principia. So it's Mrs. Anakor Ando. Are you with us? Please take it away. And by the way, oh, real quickly, sorry, Miss Ando. Miss Ando is joining us from Ghana, and she'll fill in the details in terms of her graduation time and her other details. So go ahead, Miss Ando.
Hi, guys. Happy to be here with you at 12:30 a.m. Ghana time. So I currently live in Tema, Ghana, in West Africa. and I graduated from PRIN in 1996. I actually graduated with a double major in international relations and French. And basically, I wanted to live and work all over the world. So I figured that was a good thing to do. I wanted to do good, and I felt the UN was the best place that I could do both. Today, I still love to travel. I still love to do good, but I'm doing it in a way that I didn't envision way back then. I am now a personal and professional life success coach, and which basically means that I help people to create lasting change through stretching their selves for their highest aspirations. So it's still in the same realm, but in a totally different direction. Since graduating from PRIN, I've held many jobs. The road to get here was quite winding, long and winding. My first job at PRIN was actually as a union organizer in Chicago. And I loved it. We were doing social justice issues. And since that's important to me, held a level of meaning. But it didn't quite do it for me. Since then, I've worked in sales. I've worked as a computer software trainer. I've worked for a shipping line. I've been self-employed. I've worked in HR, procurement. I've been all over. So definitely in the ballpark of my generation's average of 8 jobs. I've had 10 so far. It's been quite the journey. So I really, as you can tell, probably tell that I got stuck somewhere along the way. It's been a winding road. I worked with career counselors to figure out, what do I do? I took all sorts of personality tests. I read books on finding meaningful work and dealing with change, but I really didn't get any ahas as to what the next big move was to be. One thing I knew though was that I wanted a career I loved. So now looking back in hindsight though, I believe that it took me so long to get here because I was half listening to what I felt I wanted to do and then half listening to what people on the world and society said were good career choices for me to follow. So what I wish I knew when I was younger, it's really simply, do not look outside yourself to find meaning and joy. That is what I found I graduated in 1996. So it's been quite a few years, and along the journey, I will tell you that I would tell my younger self not to look outside herself to find meaning and joy. So I'm in effect telling my young brothers and sisters here, I now know I didn't really know what I wanted to do back then. And consequently, my road was long and winding when it didn't necessarily have to be. And from what Okezi has told you, this is why we basically want to do this, to help you learn from our mistakes, our journey, so that hopefully you have a shorter time, choose those footsteps that the story Okezi told us about the soldier, survived and did the obstacle course quickly. So first, I would say become aware of what holds great meaning for you. What holds great meaning for you? Reflect on what you want your life to be about, what you are passionate about, what matters to you, how you want to make a difference. Take time to think through on these areas. Not what mommy says or daddy says or what grandpa has always said I'll be, but what do you find meaningful? Next, you need to think through how to provide value doing this thing that is meaningful to you, or these things. It doesn't have to be one thing. Reflect on how you turn what you love into something another would be happy to pay for. Discuss with trusted family and friends the areas you'd like to create a lasting impact and how to build what you are passionate about or what you are compassionate about in a sustainable way. Finally, I will say that you have to add the element of action. You have to turn the meaning and thoughts into effective action. Using practical actions you must take for desired results. So a caution here about planning. It will never work out as you planned. But the thing is that if you have to stay stuck or take imperfect action, please, please, please take imperfect action. You get the maybes, the what ifs, the doubts. Movement is key here. As you go along, you take corrective action. So these three elements, meaning, thinking, and action, they have different dimensions to them, which we hope to share with you in this mentoring program. It will take effort on your part to implement. Like any worthwhile endeavor, it requires determination. You have to put your knowledge and your skills to use and learn from your mistakes while keeping focus on what matters to you. So if you stay committed though, you will find your path. Serendipity will happen. After all, what does luck do? It favors the prepared. And you will build your tribe. These are like-minded, supportive individuals who will help you on your way to success. So I hope you can glean something from our journeys and consciously decide to rally your thoughts and actions to support what matters to you in a way that fulfills you and leads you to a life that you consider both meaningful and rewarding. Thank you. Okezi, back to you.
I wanted to thank Ms. Anna Kaur Ando for, she really laid it down, gave us great insight into what she has been up to, some great nuggets she has shared with us. I would now transfer, so to speak, the podium over to our next in-depth presenter by the name of Ms. Christy Love Harris. I always love saying your name, maybe because of the love in the middle. So Christy Love, take it away.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Thank you for that introduction, Okezi. And of course, excuse me, I'm a little bit out the mic, sorry. And of course, it's gonna be a little hard to follow all that, but again, I see why you're a life coach. I concur with everything she said. Let me share a little bit about my background. My name is Christy Love Harris. I was originally born and raised in New Jersey, and I had the pleasure of going to the upper school with Anna Kaur as well, graduated in the class of 93, and then I went on to the college and graduated in 1997. From Principia College, I had an undergrad, a BA in international relations with a minor in history and business. I also got a scholarship to continue on my studies. So I was always interested in politics and Washington, D.C., which is obviously the seat of politics. So I came to George Mason University to continue my studies. I got a master's in international commerce and policy, and I interned on the Hill for a congressman from New Jersey. And I learned that very quickly, the youth are working like dogs for the older people to help get legislation passed, get things done on the Capitol in Washington, D.C. So realizing I also needed to support myself, I didn't think that was going to work very well. So I had a dream job. So sort of as Anna was talking about, you have plans in life. I had a dream job of working for ExxonMobil. And I did get in at the company, and it turned out not to be what I expected it to be. It wasn't as a conducive environment professionally for myself. So after that quote unquote dream ended, I kind of had to figure out what I was still interested in doing and what my skills were. So at that time, I actually always had an interest in numbers. I started working as a contractor for companies going after government business. At that time, it was with military bases in Southeast Asia more. That was the concentration with that company. And from there, that kind of parlayed into me working on government site, doing cost analyst work for a contractor, but working very closely with the federal government. And then that parlayed into me getting into procurement and acquisitions. And so I was hired by the federal government to be a contracting officer, which I've been for about the last, 14 or so years. So during that time, I also pursued other degrees as well. I got another master's in acquisitions and management, as well as I was pursuing a PhD. Didn't quite finish it, but pursuing a PhD until I got a job, because ultimately I did want to do some teaching in the arena as well. So I still work for the federal government in contracting and IT services specifically, and then also with Department of Homeland Security. And then I also teach for two different universities, Webster University, their master's program, and then Villanova University, a certificate program online. All right, so that developed as well as, and I started my own consulting business to teach small businesses or to work with small businesses going after government contracts. So while I started in politics and interest in getting into working, in the political arena, I still stayed in the federal arena and used my skills like math and writing and understanding of laws to work in this contract arena, which is very, very lucrative in the Washington, D.C. area. On top of that, I also had interest in cultures and traveling, which I, at one point in time, sort of as Anacor indicated, had an interest in traveling and working internationally and things of that nature. That didn't quite work out as I had intended, specifically like that. Instead, I was able to just travel. I did travel during my school years, but I also was able to travel independently and to experience different cultures and societies in my adult life as well. So that's my background. And so now my advice to 20 plus years younger, I would definitely say Principia is a great environment for making friendships and lasting friendships with quality people. But I think I would tell myself to get more involved in the school, explore more interests and hobbies, because this is really the platform, the time where you can explore different areas that if it's mass communications, if it's a DJ, it's comedy, if it's acting, if it's whatever, if it's creative writing, or if it's physics, whatever, you can learn from your, and I don't want to call them failures, because to me, they're never failures. They are life lessons, and learn more about yourself. And you never know where that may parlay into later in life. So those would be, I think that would be the advice I'd say to my younger self. And so, again, I'm happy to be here and look forward to more conversations with you all. Thank you, Okezie.
Thank you, Ms. Christy Love Harris. Wambui thinks you're being too modest with your travel exploit around the world. But we've always known you to be a person of modesty. And thank you for that wonderful and inspirational expose. In fact, I do see a common thread in your presentation and that of Ms. Anacor, that many a times, even with the best of preparations, life does throw curveballs at us, and the ability to adjust and is definitely a valuable insight to have. On this note, I am going to call on our final in-depth speaker for tonight by the name of Mr. Peter Gordon, joining us from Washington, D.C. Mr. Gordon, take it away.
Yay, I'm so excited. Listen, I see some familiar names and faces. I saw there's a cool name there called Don Bosco. I don't know who gave you that name, but man, it's the coolest name I've ever heard in my entire life. Don Bosco. So I see some familiar faces. Before I go any further, I think Ure wanted to say something. You had your hand up at one point, unless it was a mistake earlier on.
That was a mistake. I didn't want to say nothing.
Wake up, girl. I see it in your face. Wake up. Anyways, I see some familiar faces. Some of you guys I've met back in August, right? Let me see there. There's Sibiu, Mr. Moira. I don't think I missed Mr. Moira. But I met a few of the folks here. If they would put their videos on, that would be nice. Like, looking at like black boxes. Hello, are you guys alive? There we go. That's it. Excellent. There we go. Fantastic. Listen, so my name is Peter Gordon. If you hear accent, I'm from Jamaica. I actually I'm part of Wambue's group. I came here in 94 and ended up graduating in 98. I finished with a mass comm and sociology degree. Now, ask me what exactly I studied. I have no clue what I studied. It's just quite frankly a blur. What do I mean by that? The big thing I'm going to say to you guys is this. Who here has already declared a major? Who's a freshman? Freshman. Who's already declared majors already? They know what they're going to do. All right. I'm going to tell you, probably by the time you hit 30, you're probably going to say, why did I declare that major? That's probably what's going to happen. And guess what? It's completely okay. It is 100% okay. You see, what happens to a lot of us is we get this idea that we have this plan, right? We all come with a plan. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then what happens is life has a way of throwing what we call those curveballs, right? Let me give a perfect example. I said I was going to do mass comm and sociology. I went to work for the Christian Science Monitor after I graduated. Spent about 5 years there. Then somehow got into real estate. Don't ask me how I got into real estate. I was doing well at that for a while, realized I hated it. Then I got into the world of wellness and fitness, liked it, but somehow at age 45, a couple of things happened in my life. And next thing you know, don't ask me how I got into this. I'm now pursuing a doctorate in psychology, right? At 47. So the big point, what I'm trying to get across to you guys is this. Most of us have this idea about what we're trying to do. And a lot of the times it often comes from our parents. It comes from society, right? You know, everybody says you got to check these boxes, right? The thing I would say to that is don't be afraid to not check boxes, right? Especially if you're a freshman, explore things. Yeah. Look at the arts, look at theater. There are several friends that we know who went to law school who actually aren't practicing law anymore. Right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars in tuition fees, and they're not practicing law anymore. Somebody said, are we allowed to ask questions? By all means, please ask questions. A dumb question is one that was never asked. So unmute your mic if you want to stop me and ask a question. The point I make with that story, guys, is don't hesitate to explore what speaks to you, right? Don't hesitate to, if you're into the arts, explore it, right? If you're into theater, explore it. We have a friend who, when he came, I won't mention his name, but he was gung-ho, he was going to be a lawyer. When the truth of the matter is, this guy is a brilliant writer. And if he had explored that in college, who knows where he would have been with this, right? It's very artistic. So the thing I want to leave with you guys with this is, as we said before, explore your options. Do any and everything you can possibly do. There's a guy here that's been part of my group named Selim Newtor. Selim was notorious for doing everything he could possibly get his hands on while he was at college. He was a guy from Ghana who ended up playing football along with Dr. Aja. All right. I wish I had done more. Right. I wish I had been more exploratory and tried the arts and things of that nature. Right. So explore. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. And quite frankly, the last thing I would say is don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. This period in time in life is the time to fail, right? But the key is failing forward, right? Being adventurous in what it is that you're trying to do, knowing good and well that you might not succeed, and that is perfectly okay. Does that make sense to you guys?
Absolutely.
Well, not you, Okazi.
Oh.
Yes, it does.
Yes, sir.
Right. So hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. God, real quickly before we open it up to question and answer, by the way, we have done very good in terms of time. I mean, things have really flowed very well. I noticed one of our team member joined us a little late. I'll give him a few minutes to introduce himself. Mr. Sal Nutter, can you take it away, introduce yourself briefly, and then we'll go to the question and answer session.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Sorry about that. I got my times mixed up, but I'm Sal Nutter, and I'm the one Peter was making fun of here not too long ago. So I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am a market executive and a senior vice president at Capital One Financial, which is Capital One Bank, but on the commercial finance side of things. Graduated with the rest of these guys and with a degree in business administration. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Nutter. At this point, I know some of us have been waiting patiently to ask some questions. We open the floor for you to have that opportunity.
There's a question in the chat from Don Bosco. What happens when you feel like you're putting in a lot of work, yet the grades are not so rewarding? In brackets, engineering. There's your problem, engineering. Sorry.
Peter, it doesn't always have to be about the arts. I think there are other avenues. And for someone that I think got into technology as a result of a bad grade, just to give you context, I was doing calculus really early in my high school experience. And then I got to Prin and I took the discrete math course. I'd never in my entire life gotten a D. And this was sort of, I think it's been so long ago that you get grades midterm and then you have a sense of like what needs to happen. And I got a D in discrete math and it was shocking. It was quite flooring. And I think that that's actually when I realized I had to make a decision. Is this math game? I did physics, chemistry, and math. I was in the sciences. And to me, I think it allowed me to have to really have a conversation with myself with what's going on. Is it that it is hard? Is it that I don't have the passion for it? Is it that I'm not seeking the help? And so I went with the not seeking the help. And so I went, it was a very tearful conversation, I have to admit, to the professor. And I just was like, what am I missing? I'm math. Math is Wambui. And then she sort of coached me through this. Maybe it's the way you're approaching it. I think for many of you that were raised, particularly in on the continent of Africa, a lot of it was just you memorize, you do, you memorize, you do. And so she was like, think about the questions as if they were stories. And I was like, math and stories? What are you talking about? Anyway, as a result of that conversation, I ended up becoming a teaching assistant because I thought it was in how you actually seek the help, but also in how you provide the help. So I would say if it's something that you sort of are having a reflective conversation of, is this something that I'm really still interested in, or am I doing it, I think as others have implied, because it is what I am expected to do? But then also, are you seeking help and trying to get some of the coaching? And you should never be ashamed to ask and seek, because that might actually make the experience even more enjoyable, even as you pursue, hopefully, the thing that you love. Hopefully, I hope that helps.
Definitely. Thank you, Ms. Wamboe. That was very well articulated, and hopefully...
For the record, I changed the D to a C, which is still my lowest grade yet. Yes, discrete math in my head. Thank you, Kizzy.
That is definitely nicely articulated and hopefully answered your question.
Let me jump a little bit onto Uri. I'm going to come to you, right? Hold on. I'm going to come back to you. Don Bosco, what Wambui was saying, I 100% agree with her. What happens to a lot of us is, as we're thinking about school, we have this idea in our head of how it should go, right? And we start to think that if it doesn't go this way, then it's not working out. The thing that I think that we get in our heads is this whole idea that we're failing, when the truth is, it's really about rethinking how we approach it, right? Have you reached out to the professor? You can talk, you can use your mic.
Yes, I've tried to have conversations with the professors. But I think it's just the structure of how we used to be taught and how it happens here and how to navigate the whole system.
Right.
So you find yourself sleeping at 4 a.m., but still you're not getting the math right. Calculus is still not working out.
All right. Yeah, well, yeah, that's the key. Give yourself some grace. You literally, what is it? This is the 2nd month since you started school?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
so give yourself some grace. Give yourself a time to sort of catch up to it. It will work itself out. The key to remember to ask yourself is don't be afraid to ask, is this truly what I want to do though? Right? Because maybe it's engineering, maybe it's something else, right? But the goes back to what Anakor said. Don't get stuck on this idea that what it is that you're trying to do has to be this thing. It may be within that realm, but it could be a different branch. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think Ure wanted to ask a question.
But it's also not all about the grades. So do not focus specifically on the grades. I know you have to pass to move on. Yes, agreed. But at the end of the day, is it that you love it? Are you learning? Are you exploring? Does it have meaning for you? You understand? So don't just chase it to get the grades, but what are you learning? What is that leading to? That should be more important than the D or the C or the A or the B. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I understand. Because you were told if you get a 90 here, you're failing. but because for me, a 70 in Kenya, that's a strong A in mathematics. But here, 93, you are failing, brother.
It might be a form of exaggeration too, you know. But anyway, let's go to the next question, Ure. Is it Okeke or Okike? Which one?
Okike.
Okike, wonderful. Go ahead.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Kuzie. Hi, Peter. My question it's about basically what's next. You've talked, you all are in that place in life where, from where I stand, you're all in this place in life where it seems like, back then it was so stressful. I mean, it's still stressful for you, obviously, life never ends, but I feel like right now, a lot of us are falling into a huge period of change. And the one thing that is common, there's a common thread amongst all your stories is how you keep going, how there was always that change, that adjustment. But right now, I feel like I'm facing a lot of rigidness. As an international student, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of options. How did you find options when it seemed like there were so many limits? I mean, I'm working on doing all the like networking, like they say you should do, get involved and all of that, but it doesn't seem to be opening as much as I thought it would.
Yeah, I can answer that because there's this peer pressure that used to happen at least back in the day, where everybody was either going to Boston or they were going to San Francisco. And Peter and I, Peter, if you remember, man, we hang out on that campus till we found something to do. And I ended up in Denver, Colorado. In fact, I wasn't even sure why the heck I was going to Denver, Colorado, but it was the best thing that happened for me because it helped me with my career and the trajectory and all of that. So one of the things I will say is, be willing to take chances. And since then, I have lived in God knows how many states because I've allowed myself to take chances and be transferred with my company. But if we stick with what we know and the only things we know, which are even some of the areas and the people and the things that we've been asked to do, I think we will have a hard time of, being successful. I don't know if that answers part of it.
I would also add to what Selam has said. Believe it or not, many of us, we are still subject to pressure, right? Even with some of our moderate accomplishment, we do go through a lot of pressure. And pressure is part of life. It never stops. Now, your management of it is what changes, right? So really, and many times, the obstacles that come our way is actually a way to find out how badly we want to get to our goals. So those obstacles, it's all about perspective. What is different between us and many of you is we have gone through so much and we have perspective when it comes to pressure, and it helps us to manage it better and maybe not allow those pressure to turn into stress and whatnot, right? And hopefully through the SAM program, we would give you guys tools to really understand that pressure is part of life. It doesn't matter if you're a freshman, if you graduated 60 years ago, pressure comes with living day-to-day life. We'll give you some of the tools to manage it and be able to really show that you have what it takes, the grit, to overcome and be successful.
I also have a little bit of follow-up question, and I won't take too much time. Mr. Macaulay, where are you right now?
I'm in California, by San Francisco.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to I'd forgotten where everybody was.
Yeah.
So Ms. Anako, you are currently in Ghana, right? I don't know if this was a prevailing thought when you were graduating from PRIN, but there's this prevailing idea, especially now as things are happening in West Africa, especially Nigeria, that going home is practically a death sentence for a career and all of that. How were you able to find opportunities even when I suspect you might have been cut off from home for a while? Because when you're here, I mean, yes, you know what's happening at home, but it's not like you're networking there.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it took me a long time, about 8 months, when I came home to find something to do. I mean, even getting volunteer opportunities were tough because something you want to volunteer for is someone's job. So they think you're coming to take their job by coming and volunteering. But I think the main thing, though, is what it is that you want to do is what you need to understand. It might change. It might not be the same thing from a year from now, 10 years from now. But as I said at the beginning, you need to find what is meaningful to you. And then based on that, you take the steps. And as Juan just said, you don't be afraid. Yes, there's this notion that, you know, Africa is this way or is that way. There are challenges here. There are challenges outside. But the question is, what fills your heart? What makes you happy? If it's not coming back home, but it's because your visa is expiring, that's something you have to look at. Sometimes you do not have a choice. I know some people came back and are okay. Other people came back and are not still content. I mean, we all have our issues, but I think it's because, especially those who are still struggling, is the fact that, like we said, society has all these judgments about where you should be or what is the better place to be. But depending on what it is that you want to do, what fulfills you will not necessarily have to be in California as opposed to Idaho, or in Ghana as opposed to, say, South Africa, right? So I think it all boils down to knowing yourself, understanding what it is that will make you happy, understanding what it is that brings you joy, what gives you meaning. If you do not start from that basis, then you're all over the place. As I said, my journey went in so many directions because I was listening to myself a bit. I was listening to what other people were saying, what society says I should do because of the level of my education or my financial background, all sorts of things. So there's so much clutter going on internally. And to me, that is what needs to be dealt with first of all. Then you can see the opportunities, for example, that PASLM was talking about, and see how it can actually move you forward. I hope that helps.
Yeah, and I'll add that as you're exploring, you know, in the things that you set out to do, always, you know, give it your best effort. You're honest, you know, really try to do you the best you can. And I can tell you, this time at this day and age is much actually better because you have mobile, the technology is easier to connect. I know during the days we were there were no mobile phones, and it was a bit different. Right now, the whole world, I mean, you can interact with someone in the village, back home or here, in real time. So it's easier in that way. And I can also see from here, if you're in technology, some people, you can actually, there are technology companies here that are, either having people work remote from back home. I have some colleagues that are either in Africa, actually all over globally, right? All over the world. And the same way we are in the meeting here, that's how we have our, work meetings and things like that. So as long as whatever you set out to do, that you're doing the best you can, and you are, you're good in it, it doesn't matter where you actually you are. So you can be here, or some people get hired here and they eventually opt out to work from back home. I have a colleague right now who was working here during the pandemic. He was out in, he went to Ghana, actually, yeah, to Ghana. So what happened is he was there for a month. So during that month, he found out that his internet connectivity was very, very strong, was good. So when he came back, when they, turned out that he can really work from home, he went out to Ghana, and he's actually out there right now working for about 4 months. So, so yeah, I think as times are going by, things are changing and evolving. By the time you graduate, that's even much more closer with all the technology and remote and mobile access. I think, yeah, I would say you can focus on what the thing that you're doing. Try to be, as good, the best you can. Try to do as good as you can. That would really make a difference. Yeah.
I would also add from the chat area, Wambu is reminding us of one of our team members by the name of Judy Mwangi. She's not here tonight, but during her time at Principia, she actually had an internship with a company back home, during her time. So these are practical things you could do. Set up, see possibilities for internship opportunities with companies back home. That could be nice way to test the waters to see what environment might be best for your skill set. So Judy was a perfect example in that regard. Any other question? Okay.
I want to chime in real quick. Ure, you're a senior, correct?
Oh, not yet, thank God.
Not yet. Oh, there is. So you're a junior.
Junior.
Okay. Yeah. So a big mistake people make, particularly in undergraduate work, even in graduate work, is they confuse networking with creating a network. Right? What I mean by that is, if you just call me up out of the blue and says, I'm Ure from Principia, can help me get a job, I'm going to say, who are you? Right? I don't know you. You see what I'm saying? Back in the day, and I'm going to make fun of Miss Carey's, Miss Silverstock's Career Development Center. I'm not trying to beat up Carey's predecessor, but it used to be that they'll give you a big book, and it was a book of alumni, and they say, go through it and find people who you want to ask to get you a job. And I would call people, and you could tell I was bothering them, right? What I'm saying to you at this stage is the key to all of this is create your network from now. What I mean by that is meet people, right? Explore. One thing Seldon didn't probably say earlier was that he got a job out in Colorado because he made connections while he was at Prin. And I think, Seldon, the first job you got was through a friend that referred you, right?
Yeah.
So that's the big thing I'm saying is start to create your network, because what happens is when people know about you, when they understand who you are, as opportunities arise, one boy might be in Kenya, right? And all of a sudden there's a position that comes up that she thinks, wait a minute, there's this young lady back in Elsa, Illinois, in this little remote village in Illinois, that I think would be a good match, right? So I think that's the big thing. For another perfect example, Don Basco was asking about engineering. The person who created the engineering program at Principia, the creator of it, is actually on this chat, in Mr. Dr. Christopher Aja. The point I make is, I'm sorry, Chris. Chris, I'm putting Chris on the spot. Is that's how you create your network. And when you create this network, they'll help you because you've become family to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's one thing I want to say.
Yeah, I understand like making the network. It's the question again is how, and of course that's something you do.
I can
talking to people.
I can help with that. It starts today. I mean, when you walk
Exactly.
out and you see somebody serving you food and what's it called, the lunchroom, you start building your network right there and then, and it's the reason is because you will find that one or two or three people who might end up making that life-changing, phone call for you, and that's what happened with me. Again, while everyone was moving to California and all these places, I went to Denver, Colorado. Well, guess what? At that time, there were not that many people like me in Denver, Colorado, so I was able to move up really fast. But if I had just stuck to what I had known and I hadn't built a network of people from day one there, I wouldn't have gotten it. I mean, here sorry, there's some feedback. So for me, I always believe every time I walk into a room now, if I'm meeting or anything like that, I'm still looking at every single interaction as a networking event. So that's what I would say that you should start with. And I know it seems all frou-frou and, oh yeah, go and shake the hands with the first person you meet, but I'm being very serious. I mean, and then take time to get to know whoever is going to be your mentor. And I mean, not just by sending them a message on LinkedIn and all of that. Pick up the phone and try and have a conversation with them. It may take 2 or 3 tries to do it, but the same way you're trying to build that network with the person in your dorm and the person, your teachers, that's the same thing that you have to do. And it won't just be one quick chat with them that will get you there.
One thing I would add to Selam's point, earlier in my introduction, I did mention that we have been made aware of InterStride, which is a platform used by students at the college. So many of us will be signing on to that. This could be one way to reach out to us in terms of the mentoring program. And of course, also to emphasize, the common thread we hear so far is network. Network. And we don't say this lightly. We say this because from perspective, many of us missed that boat, but looking back in hindsight, that is the #1 most single move you can make today, tonight, tomorrow, to get that ball rolling. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, excuse me. I had a question for Professor Chris. The other name is hard to pronounce. The founder of engineering here. I want to ask him about the options that I have, because I realize I am not someone who breaks things up and fixes them like I see other people do. And I don't think I can make it well in civil engineering or mechanical engineering. What are some of these options that I can explore? I feel like I'm more of an analyst than a creator of things.
Mr. Don Bosco. So first, I do want to, I do appreciate the praise, but I do also want to stress that Dr. Joe Ritter, for those of you who know, was kind of the initiator of this engineering program. I don't want to take all the credit for that, but yes, I did come back to move the engineering science program forward. That being said, and Wambui answered a question about engineering the best way I could possibly have answered it myself, but I'm actually also waiting for the time to really redeem all the engineers so that we don't get all the backlashes we're getting right now. I think we'll have opportunity to do that. Mr. Don Bosco, I think the best thing I'm gonna have you do is just email me, since I think we ran out of time here, but I think this will be an in-depth question that I have to answer. And I'm happy. Brian Malambo is on here. Grace is on there. Ure, Hope says hi, by the way. I'm sure Ure loved my daughter so much before we left.
Miss her.
So, yeah.
Miss her.
And,
So we'll have the opportunity to do that. But definitely, get in touch with Brian or Grace and all the engineers on here. I think Carrie or Mr. David, they will know how to reach me, and then we could do that offline. But I definitely will.
Yeah, but Chris, can I just say something to what he said? Like, I wasn't an engineering major. I knew I couldn't do it. But I was a member of the Solar Card team, and I made myself a business manager of the Solar Card team because I wanted to learn as much as I could. So even though you may not be a builder of things, there's a lot of engineers out there. We have engineers in my company who run all our analytics and our artificial intelligence and all of that. So you might not be a builder, but if you are inquisitive enough and you want to explore and do all the things like I did, you will find your place.
Thank you, Salem. Yes, like Chris alluded, we are out of time. In fact, this was scheduled to be a 1 hour event. Sorry, we have to cut it off at this point, but this has been a very productive session. Some great insight has been shared. We look forward to hearing from David and Carrie on when the first seminar webinar presentation would take place. And thank you to all those who made the time tonight to be part of this birthing process of SARM. We are excited in terms of the many opportunities this program would present. And we look forward to many more opportunities, to guide and mentor those of you that have shown interest. So against this backdrop, I would hand it back over to David and Carrie for some departing words.
Thank you so much. The plane has taken off. It is off the run, and in a wonderful way. Thank you so much, the psalmist, for making time to be here, and also for the students who have also made time to be here. I hope for the students that are on the call, what you're hearing is that we are serious about you. We recognize the need for intentional career development programming and career development support. We are serious about it as a department, as in partnership with Carrie. We now have even more support through the SAM group. So the future is looking bright, and I'm really excited about it. Carrie?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to thank everyone so much. And for those of you that were in time zones that were not, where it was very, very late or very, very early, we so appreciate you being with us at this time. And I know I was grabbing students' names, so we'll be sending them just a really simple survey, and then we'll figure out when the next session will be and get back with everybody. And if you need to, like Dr. Chris was saying, if you need to reach anyone, you can reach out to me or David, and we're happy to help. But definitely, some of you are new faces, so if you've never talked with me, definitely send me an email, and there are a ton of resources that our office has. It has changed, as Peter said. It's not like the old book, right? I'm like, go use this book and start calling. So we have a lot of really cool things going on that you can ask me, David Roseborn, about, and we're so grateful to our psalmists. So thank you all.
Thank you. And I will give the final word to the one person without whom anything I do is not possible. Roseborn, are you still on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Roseborn is awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you to everyone, and really appreciate all of us taking that time to meet. I know this is very important, and it's going to be really, really, really great as it goes forward. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful night or morning, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Sante di sarang.
All right.